Hi, I'm Todd Shimkus with the Saratoga County Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Luke Scarchilli with Sandler Training. I'm an associate and sales trainer at Sandler, and happy to be here with Todd.
Yep, and we're going to talk about LinkedIn today. Luke is an expert at using LinkedIn to generate new business and new opportunities for folks that are out there. And we had some really good previews of people that wanted to watch this, so we hope you get a lot out of it. I will mention quickly, we're at the coffee house here on West Avenue. This is a great place. They've been open a little more than a year. A little German twist to the whole food operation here.
Great coffee, great pastries.
I had an apple streusel just a few minutes ago before we went on air. It's delicious, so please come on by. They're over here in West Ave. We thank them for offering up their space. They've got a nice little conference room here, and we're closed in, and we're going to talk LinkedIn now. So Luke, why don't we kick it off with, why is LinkedIn a valuable tool for anyone who sells?
Todd, that's a good question. So LinkedIn is a super valuable tool, and we're actually just having a conversation right before we went live here. Is that I talked to a bunch of people saying, hey, I'm talking with Todd Shimkus from the Chamber. We're going to be chatting about how to use LinkedIn to really grow your network and grow your business. And the number one answer I got was, oh, that's really cool. I don't use LinkedIn as much as I should. I have a profile, but I don't use it as much as I should. So I think people know that it's valuable. It's just a matter of actually using it to your advantage or not. One of the cool things about LinkedIn is that it is a tool that can generate leads for you and allow you to stay in control. LinkedIn is a tool that you can use 24/7, right? So you don't have to be at your desk between the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in order to reach out to somebody or in order to connect with somebody. It's a tool that's working for you all of the time. So it makes it really easy for people in sales to connect with people who maybe they really want to do business with, because there doesn't have to be that face-to-face interaction initially. Anyway, LinkedIn kind of falls under that bucket of social selling. Have you heard of that term before?
Sure.
Social selling?
Go ahead and describe it a little bit.
So social selling, really what that is, I guess there's no one good concrete definition of social selling, but to me what it is using social media outlets to connect with other people. So I will say though, there is a difference between LinkedIn and those other social media outlets like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. LinkedIn is really a professional tool, and it should be used in a professional capacity. So, we shouldn't be going on LinkedIn to post about what you did this past weekend or how the kids are doing or, stuff like that. Those are good channels for Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. But we want to keep it more professional on LinkedIn. We should post things that people expect us to post, not things that we think people just want to hear. So it does fall under that bucket of social selling, just I guess on an elevated level, I guess you could say.
I like that. I think that helps immediately, because I know, my focus. I'm sure I'm like a lot of people that I'm on Facebook and I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram, and I'm not on LinkedIn all the time, and maybe it's because I am trying to do that social as opposed to the professional.
People do use those other outlets for professional advantage, your Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, but me personally, I don't. I just use it for my personal pleasure, and that's just my style. I know other people who use their Instagrams as a work platform, and it works out well for them. So it is really up to you for what you want to do, but LinkedIn, I don't think gets sucked into that personal life.
Sure. So I won't be posting any photos of me with Patriots uniforms on this weekend, I guess.
Good luck. But
no. So what's the difference between using LinkedIn for selling versus the traditional use of the platform?
So we have a lot of opportunity when we use LinkedIn for actually selling. So the traditional way that LinkedIn is used is it almost has a resume-ish style feel to it. And that's okay, because that's really the way that LinkedIn walks you through creating your profile. It's like, here's a question, answer the question. Here's a question, answer the question. What have you done before? Where did you go to school? Where have you worked? And what are the things that you did when you worked there? And that's okay, but it's very me focused, right? It's all about me, 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 me. And we know in sales, it really shouldn't be about you, right? It should be about the other person. So turning the traditional sense into a selling point of view would be turning those things that are all about me into challenges and problems that you fix for your client. And why we want to do that is because people can relate to that. Right? So instead of me saying, I'm Luke Scarchilli, I work for Sandler Training, we implement processes and tactics for sales teams to do better. Right? That's very technical, it's very about me and what I do. Instead, what I would want to say is, my name is Luke Scarchilli, we help organizations and companies who they feel really frustrated because they're just not bringing in enough net new business. Right? That's something that people can relate to. So that traditional sense is very, I'm sure you've heard this term before, feature benefit style, where it's, I'm going to throw out a feature of what I did and here's the benefit, hopefully you can relate to it. Hope is a really bad tactic. You want to make it personal, right? Make it something that people can relate to. So, think about LinkedIn like a huge, never-ending networking event. Are you trying to sell somebody at a networking event?
Not necessarily.
Exactly.
Not immediately.
Right, exactly, yeah. So that's the same thing that we want to be doing on LinkedIn, is not selling somebody, but generating interest, right? Generating interest enough where that person wants to take a next step. So at a networking event, it would be exchanging cards, agreeing to go get coffee. On LinkedIn, it would be me stumbling across your profile, reading about those challenges and problems that you fix, deciding that I can relate to that, and saying, hey, I'm going to send out a connection request. Right? And then we have that connection, we can take the next steps. So I think that's really the big difference between that traditional sense, the resume-ish style feel, just kind of answering questions with feature benefit, to changing it into something that people can relate to, those challenges and problems that you can fix.
People are probably out there right now with a split screen. They're going back and redoing all of the way they've got everything written. I'm not doing that right now, but I got to do that later on. So why is it so important to use LinkedIn that way?
I think the biggest reason we want to change that paradigm is because everybody else is doing it the traditional way, right? And we need to have in sales a competitive advantage, right? We need to be able to stand out from our competition, right? So those features and benefits, those technical terms, there's probably a bunch of buzzwords, industry-specific words in your profile that if I stumble across your profile, I might not have any idea what those words mean. And that's going to turn me off right away. So making it something that people can relate to is just, that's your competitive advantage. That's what's going to make you stand out. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's not your product, your service, your delivery time, your whatever that's going to make you different from your competition. That's not what it is. It's you at the end of the day. It's you that's what's going to make yourself stand out from your competition. So that's why we want to change it a little bit, right? So if we talked about LinkedIn working for you 24/7. If I'm on LinkedIn at 2 a.m. on a Saturday and I'm going through your profile, I should be able to determine if I can relate to what you do or not. I shouldn't have to wait till Monday at 9 a.m. so I can message you and ask you a question about what that thing was in your profile, right? I should be able to relate to it right away. So it's really changing that. Here's how I do things, and here's all the reasons that I'm so wonderful, into here are the outcomes that we helped people like you get to. That's really what we want to change it to. I mean, because that's your competitive advantage right there.
I talk to people that you mentioned networking events and networking mixers, and I do an orientation for new members at almost every one of them. And one of the things that I say at the orientation, I know you've heard me say this, is that you can't attend one event and expect to build the relationship that is going to lead to an immediate sale, that it takes time. And now I'm going to have to add in, there's a way to use LinkedIn to help you when you're not doing just the face-to-face.
Right, exactly.
Again, I hadn't looked at it in that particular way before.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you on that front.
So when you're setting up your profile on LinkedIn, or you're going back and you're revising it, one of the features there is, which is different from all the other social media, the endorsement piece.
Yeah.
Can you talk about endorsements and what should you do, what shouldn't you do with respect to those?
So yeah, that's a great point. That it definitely is very different from the other platforms out there. I think endorsements are great. I would highly encourage any LinkedIn user to have as many endorsements as possible on their profile, because if you are the one saying you're good at something, it's kind of taken with a grain of salt, right? It's like, I'm Luke Scarchilli, I'm a great sales trainer. Okay, great, Luke. As opposed to 10 other people saying that Luke really is a great sales trainer, because that's what's going to add value, and that's what's going to encourage whoever's looking at your profile to take those next steps with you. When they see other people saying Luke is a good public speaker, or Luke is fluent in the Microsoft Office, whatever it is. So endorsements are great, but what that means is that we then have to be asking people for those endorsements. Okay. It would be great if I had 3 people a day LinkedIn messaging me saying, "Hey, Luke, can I endorse you on this?" It just doesn't happen. If it happens to you, I'm jealous, but that's just something that doesn't happen. So, we are in sales. We do have to be asking for things. We do have to be able to feel comfortable asking questions. So I think asking people for endorsements really is something that we should be doing on a pretty consistent basis. When 10 other people from 10 other companies are saying how awesome and wonderful and great the work that XYZ company does, that goes a lot farther than just you kind of saying it. It's really that reinforcement piece.
So when you talk about endorsements or those things and the authenticity of them, mm-hmm. because you have to ask, do you also want them to call out the specific qualities, or do you encourage people to put an endorsement there mm-hmm. and let them choose which ones they because I know under LinkedIn you can pick different things. What's the best way to advise them?
I would be as specific as possible in your ask. So rather than saying, "Can you endorse me?" saying, "Can you endorse me in XYZ?" Make it as easy as possible for the other person to, it takes 2 seconds to do that. Really, it's one click of the button after they get to your profile. And since endorsements really are so powerful, I think you do have the option of moving them around in your profile. So I think they start out, the way LinkedIn walks you through it, they start out on the bottom of your profile. You have the option of moving that up higher. And I would encourage you to do that too.
As long as they're good.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. But yeah, to answer your question, I would be as specific as possible in those endorsement asks. Make it easy on the other person. They'll appreciate that.
Okay. So we've got a number of people watching out there. I just want to let you know that you can you can ask questions too. Just write a comment in the comment bar, and I am trying to look at those, and if we have any questions come in from folks, you can do that. So again, use the comment feature, and we'll answer some questions too. So how can you use LinkedIn to generate new leads?
So that's a good question there. So to me, there's kind of a two-pronged approach to that. One is passive and one is active. So the passive piece of it would be making it as easy as possible for your prospects, people you want to do business with, whoever's on your profile, to be able to get to your information, your company's information. So whether that's a link in your profile to your landing page, to your website, so people can kind of get funneled into that, would be one way. The other way would be actively inviting people to connect. And you can be as specific and ambitious with that as you want to be, really. So, if I wanted to go through, say, CEOs of marketing companies in Saratoga, I can do that. I can go, if you go into the top and hit search and hit all filters, I can go through geography, I can go through first connection, second connection, I can go through company, I can go through vertical, and you can fill, and this is the free version of LinkedIn.
I was just going to ask whether that was the free or the upgrade.
This is the free version of LinkedIn that you can do all this stuff with. Mm-hmm. I won't really touch on the paid piece, but yeah, just the free version of being able to do all of that that's a way to generate leads right there, because if I go through all those and I get 20 results, probably more than that, if I get 20 results for CEOs of marketing companies in Saratoga, then I can connect with them. I can connect with them probably with a note. That's how I like to connect with people. So, if I find Jim Jones from XYZ company and I hit connect, do you want to add a note? Yeah, something super simple. Hey Jim, I saw your profile, would love to connect. You work in the Saratoga area, would love to learn a little bit more about your company. Super simple. When you add that note in your connection requests, the likelihood of that person accepting increases significantly. And you also have the opportunity of just starting the conversation right away, right there, by adding that note. So again, I would make it as easy as possible. So I would also include your phone, I would include your email in your profile, so that people have no issue reaching out to you. And then I wanted to kind of mention here, there's 3 different types of networkers out there on LinkedIn. And I'm sure, as I go through these, you know people who fall into these
Sure.
3 categories. The first is what we call an open networker. An open networker is somebody that just connects with everybody under the sun. The more connections, the better. They almost view the connections as a status symbol. So, the more connections I have, the higher my status is. Just connections, connections, connections. Always 500 plus, always. And that, you're talking about, how can you generate new leads? People who are open networkers have a hard time generating new leads because they don't know who in their network is really important and who's not, because they have so many connections. So the opposite of that.
I'm chuckling because I'm in that role, but it's been, all I've done is accepted them because I didn't want to reject anybody.
Right.
I have thousands and I don't even know half of them. So
yeah, that's not uncommon at all.
We do not have any idea how to then drill down and
Yeah.
figure out how to make that work for me.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah.
There's that's a common type of networker.
Sure.
The other side of that is what we call a closed networker. And that's basically the opposite of the open networker. So they don't have that many connections. They only connect with people that they really trust. After we go sit down, grab a cup of coffee, you can hear me talk and put a face to my name, and the trust is there. So closed networkers don't have that many connections. There's not as many of them on LinkedIn. And then the third type of networker is what we call the value networker. That's kind of the middle ground between the two. And that's where we want to be as salespeople. So what that is can I, as a salesperson, add value to you? If the answer is yes, we're probably going to connect. If the answer is no, it's probably not that good of a reason for us to connect. So that value added is, do I perceive that I can add value to you by being connected with you, or that I can receive value from you by being connected to you? Whether it be through you being able to make referrals for me, you posting relevant content that's applicable to me and my role. So that's the value add, and that's really where we want to be as salespeople. So the open network or the closed network, and then us kind of in the middle there.
So how do you get to that middle? Is it so if you got 10 requests from people to connect, you're only going to connect if you feel like there's a value one way
That's right.
or the other?
Yeah, I get connection requests from folks who I went to school with down in Washington, D.C. I went to school at a Catholic university, and I get connection requests all the time from people down there. But I'm always asking myself, is being connected with this person going to help me in my role? And most of the time, the answer is no. And that's okay. I have no problem hitting ignore on that connection request. But if I feel like they're going to post stuff that I'm going to be able to receive value from, because I know that somebody in DC probably isn't making many connections for me, referrals, I'll add them. And if I get that rogue person who I see is for sure an open networker and just wants to connect with me, I'll send them a note before I connect with them and say, hey, really appreciate you sending me the connection request. Can you help me kind of dummy up a little? Can you help me remember, do we know each other? Did we meet each other at a networking event? Make them prove that, there should be a connection there. Because really at the end of the day, it's going to be difficult for you, it's going to be difficult for people who are asking you to connect them with other people, because then you might have to turn around and be like, actually, I don't really know that person, right? And that's tough sometimes. So it makes it easier for everybody all around.
So if you hit ignore, do they know that you did that?
I don't believe so. I don't know yes or no definitively. I don't think they do. I think it would be just something that, because I don't get those notifications. If I try and connect with somebody and they were to ignore me, I don't get a notification that said, Todd ignored your request. So I don't think...
I wouldn't, by the way. Just
I appreciate that.
So, how should someone go about posting content on LinkedIn? Again, you said earlier it's different. It's professional content. So
right.
What are your recommendations there?
So, again, it would be, the first thing I would say is I would post content that people would expect to receive from you. And that kind of goes back to the value add. Like, I would add somebody to my network because I expect to receive a certain degree of value from them. And then if they start going off and posting things that I don't really care about or isn't applicable to me or whatever, that would have been a bad connection. So I would start off by posting things that people expect you to post. In terms of what you want to post, if it's a video or an article or a blog or whatever, honestly, I would post whatever receives the most engagement level. So everything that we do on LinkedIn should be done with a purpose. We shouldn't just post things to post things. So I would start off by, having that shotgun approach of, I'm going to do a bunch of different types of things, and I'm going to see really what sticks and what people latch onto the most. Maybe that's a 2-month process, maybe that's a 3-month process, and saying, okay, I see that, for me, the way it worked out was people really like when I posted videos. I get 25 plus likes, usually 10 plus comments. That's great for me, so I know that I'm now going to want to post at least a video a week or a video every other week. So I would do, what people would expect you to do, and I think a good, sweet spot is around 2 to 3 times a week posting things. You don't want to flood people's news feeds, but you don't want to be a ghost either. So I would really find out what works best for you. Post content that's relevant and content that people expect you to post, and find that sweet spot. I was talking with a gentleman yesterday who also does some work on LinkedIn. I say, you got any tips for me before I go talk to Todd tomorrow? And not so much as posting content, but in terms of using LinkedIn, 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Really, that's you don't need to spend a ton of time on LinkedIn, but 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week. It's really quite frustrating when you're talking to somebody and you messaged them maybe 2 weeks ago and you run into them and say, you get that response of, I don't use LinkedIn that much, so I didn't receive it. Well, then why do you have LinkedIn? So we have LinkedIn for a purpose. It can be on the computer, it can be on the phone, it can be, we have all these different avenues of being able to check it, so check it. Why not?
So everybody that messaged me on LinkedIn the last 3 weeks, probably, I will try now to get back to you because I realize the error of my ways at this point. So
no, it's not uncommon. It's just for some reason people's mindset around you forget about things. You're a busy guy. You got a bunch of things going on. It's easy to see that message and say I'll get back to it, and 10 other things come up.
And I also know now that when we're done with this video, to post that, so because that'll be great content for me. So, how can you use LinkedIn to help current relationships that you have in the community?
So current relationships. So this would be, let's assume that you're connected with people on LinkedIn. That would be a current relationship on LinkedIn for me. 2 ways, I think, and it's super simple, very easy to do. Leave active and constructive comments on things that they post. So you post something, you had the annual dinner last Thursday. If you were to post a picture from the annual dinner, I'd comment on that and be like, Todd, I had a fantastic time at the dinner. I really had an awesome time, connected with a lot of people. Thank you for adding that value to my week. Something super simple. So leaving those constructive, positive comments on things that they post. The second thing would be to confirm somebody's acknowledgments or hard work without them really expecting. So if I see XYZ company in the Albany Business Review that I want to do business with, and I see that there's an article in there about them expanding or doing better, whatever it is, I would post a picture of that, and you can tag them. Again, free version of LinkedIn. If I'm not connected with you, I can still tag you. So I would say, hey, Martha Stewart from from XYZ company, fantastic job here. You guys are really adding a lot of value to the Capital District, to Saratoga County. We love the work that you guys are doing. Keep it up, right? That's going to go a long way for somebody. Sure. You're going to see that without expecting it. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe things aren't, and then they see that and things that's what's going to stick in their head. So it'd be really, commenting, making positive comments, or acknowledging somebody's hard work. You can also, do it through different avenues too. You can email people. You can, talk through groups. You can leave comments. There's, a bunch of different avenues. So I would use that too. I would change it up and not just use one specific avenue of communication.
And in that answer, you're really targeting some folks that you want to build you've got a current relationship on LinkedIn, but you're looking to build a business relationship with them. And so that you've sort of got your prospect list within LinkedIn that you're working on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just the consistent touches.
Sure.
Again, we talked a lot about, it's going to be really hard to sell somebody your product or service over LinkedIn. So those consistent touches, maybe after, the third time you leave a comment over a month or 2 months of period, and someone says, oh, I had the time to, see who commented. I checked out his profile. I think there might be a good connection. I'm going to reach out to him. So it's being consistent and, like we said, pointed with what you do. Everything should be done for a reason.
So we do have a question online in the comment section. It says, hello, I know you mentioned you wouldn't get deep into the paid LinkedIn version, but do you feel it's worth it to upgrade?
Simple answer, yes. Yes, I do think it's worth it to upgrade. You can do a lot more with the paid version. We talked a little bit about, being able to make specific searches in different verticals and different, levels. And first, that goes like tenfold deeper in the paid version of LinkedIn, and it's consistently working for you. So you can even save those types of searches. So when I'm sitting at my desk at 3 o'clock, not on LinkedIn, putting together a presentation or responding to a proposal or whatever, that can still be working for me and pushing new people out into my pipeline, amongst plenty of other different things that you can do. So short, simple answer, I would say yes, I do think it's worth it. It's not super cheap, not super expensive, so it's definitely affordable. What I use is called Sales Navigator. So for anybody who's in sales and wants to use LinkedIn for finding new net opportunities, I would highly recommend Sales Navigator as the way to go for that.
And that's part of LinkedIn, or that's a separate software?
That's part of LinkedIn. You can be on the free version of LinkedIn on your profile, and it can in settings or somewhere in your profile you can be directed to the upgraded version, that Sales Navigator.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
So how and or should, maybe both of those, should you ask for referrals, and how do you do that?
Yes, definitely. I would 100% encourage people who are in sales and want to be connected with other people to ask for referrals on LinkedIn. But I would be smart about it, right? Don't ask for referrals just to ask for a referral. The first thing I would always do is, if I see you're connected with, Sandler does a lot of work with folks who are in the financial world, financial planning or marketing or whatever. So if I see you're connected with a financial planner that I want to meet, the first thing I would ask you is, Todd, do you know this person well enough to make an introduction? Usually when I ask that question, there's a 50-50 answer, yes or no, right? That could save me a lot of time if you tell me no, as opposed to me, putting together something big. So you say, yeah, look, I do know that person, or I haven't talked to them in a while, it might be a good opportunity for me to reconnect as well. Say, great, would you mind actually making that introduction for me? Yeah, okay, great. And then what I would do is I would have and probably saved onto your computer and your documents or whatever, a paragraph, probably not much more than a paragraph, but a paragraph that I could send you for you to use to introduce me to that person. So it's kind of like just an outline, basically, where you can fill in the blanks. Because I want to make it as easy as possible for you to make that introduction. The quicker you can make it, the better. If I ask you and you say yes, and then the more time that goes by, the less likely that actually is going to happen, and that referral will be made. But I would highly encourage you to ask for referrals on LinkedIn. Use those searches. If you're in sales, the likelihood of being connected with somebody through a referral is much higher than making a cold call. You don't want to make cold calls; they're not fun. I've never run into a salesperson who likes making cold calls. Referrals have a much higher percentage on actually being connected with somebody. So, yes, I would definitely encourage you to not only ask for the referral, but then make it as easy as possible for that person to make the introduction for you. I would have written out paragraph and ask them, the avenue that they would like to make the referral to. Next time you see them, are you going to call them? Are you going to email them? So have a paragraph. If they say, yeah, I'm going to email you, or email that person, have a paragraph that you can send them. If they're going to say, hey, I'm going to give them a call, have talk tracks that you can send over to them on things that they can say or things that you could do. Give them your, maybe not so much your full 30-second commercial, but, and not features and benefits at all, but reasons for that person to be able to relate to you and want to, grab a cup of coffee or have an introductory phone call.
Cool. So, yeah. Any other extra tips that you haven't mentioned so far?
Yeah, I would just, take the time to go back, even if you do have a LinkedIn and you do use it, it's probably been a while since you've actually, and I'm just saying, probably been a while because it's me too, but actually updated it, everything in your profile. So, go back to the beginning of our conversation. Turn the things that you do, those technical things, turn those into problems and challenges that you solve for people, because that's what they're going to relate to. So go back in there, do that. Go back, just look at probably the amount of times you have the word I in there, right? Having it be all about you. See if you can turn that into a you. Make it you focused, on them. But yeah, keep your profile updated. Even your profile picture, I would update that at least every couple months.
I'm not going to. I look much younger than the one that's on.
Okay, fair enough. Definitely keep that then. But yeah, keep it updated. The one thing I see too is, we talked about using LinkedIn as a professional platform. Don't get sucked in to LinkedIn. And I'm saying that because I have before, where I've spent a half hour scrolling through my newsfeed, and then I lift up my head and be like, wow, I haven't gotten anything done in a half an hour. Okay, so don't get sucked in to the LinkedIn newsfeed. Be pointed and be direct with everything that you do, because we know in sales, our time is what really at the end of the day is our money. How we decide to allocate our time on, pay time activities, things that we do that are at the end of the day going to generate us more money, really, versus no pay time activities. Those things that maybe are just administrative tasks that we have to perform around the office, or scrolling through your LinkedIn feed. Those things aren't going to generate you new money. So use LinkedIn for the things that really will generate you, money at the end of the day. Asking for those referrals, commenting on people who you want to be connected with, posts, you know, making your own posts for people to like and comment on, you know, all those good things that are going to keep us top of mind with people that we want to be connected with.
Very neat. So people watch this video, they've got a great introduction and some great advice from you. How can they get more? How do they get more on this?
Good question. So, you know, this whole talk really has been revolving around LinkedIn. So I would say the number one thing, connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a connection request. My name is, you know, Luke Scarchilli. You can see it on the Facebook Live feed. But make that connection with me. You know, I'm happy to have a conversation. I'm happy to, you know, have a phone call or whatever it may be. You know, take those next steps. You can also like the page here on Facebook. So click that as a like. And then I think the company I work for, so we have a book that somebody in our network produced around effectively using LinkedIn to help grow your business. It's called LinkedIn the Sandler Way. So, you know, that might be a good opportunity for, you know, if you liked what you've heard so far during this talk, I think you'd really like that book. There's a lot in it. It's not a super hard read, and it, you know, gives you more tactics and strategies like you and I have been talking about to really grow your network.
And that book's free? Is
that? Not free. It's about $10, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So close enough.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we do have one other question that came in online. Luke, what's your suggestion when you leave a note to a person you want to connect with? They accept your connection, but don't reciprocate or respond back to you after the fact. In addition, when you try to message them again, no response, but they did accept the connection. Thoughts on next steps? Jake must be talking about me.
That's a good question. That's a very good question because that happens quite often. What I would do is, first of all, don't get frustrated and don't take it personally. In our sales roles, we take a lot of things personally when, at the end of the day, you know, that person's not responding to you because they don't like you as a person. They probably have a million other things going on. So first of all, I wouldn't take it personally. I would we talked about trying different avenues to connect. So maybe rather than sending them more in-mail messages, maybe comment on their posts that they post. Maybe, you know, if you see something about them in the news or an article you read about them, throw that on LinkedIn and tag them in it. I would also go through, and one of the ways that we can ask for referrals too, is I would go to that person's profile and see if there are any mutual connections. If there are, reach out to one of those mutual connections and ask that person to make an introduction, or to, you know, reach out to that person and talk to them about you. So you'd be trying a different avenue, and I wouldn't be pushy about it. You know, if you are in sales and that's why you want to be talking to this person, I wouldn't be pushy about it. I would be, you know, open about it. You know, I would love to just, you know, have a cup of coffee and learn a little bit more about your company. But I guess the easiest way to answer that question as a whole, if I'm understanding it correctly, is take all of the routes that you can, as opposed to just that one, you know, in-mail piece.
Awesome. So, Luke, I want to thank you for doing this. Incredibly helpful to me. I took some notes. I said I was going to do that. 5 minutes, 5 days. Try to be a little more value-oriented in the way I'm looking at this. I got to rewrite everything in my LinkedIn profile. I got to change my profile picture, all those things.
And that's a good point too. You know, if you are one of those people who might fall into that open networker category, go through your connections. Really take the time to go through your connections and sort out the people who really, you know, you're not going to get value from. You know, it might take an hour or two, but at the end of the day, it's going to be helpful for you. It's going to be helpful for, you know, people that are on your profile and everything. Yeah.
Awesome. No, really appreciate that. And I want to thank as well Cafe House here on West Ave for hosting us. Again, they have amazing coffee, teas, food, breakfast, lunch, great options over here, convenient parking. Really a great spot, and locally owned business, which we always love to support. So,
for sure.
Luke, thank you. It's great.
Thanks for having me. Have fun.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.